back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls.
Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ella.
Ella!
Yes, Charlie.
Do you know who's joining us today?
Well, I'm here and you're here.
Oh, but don't we normally have, like, a guest?
Well, since, over 6 episodes ago, I suppose, yes, that has been the norm.
It's been about a month since it was just you and I sitting down talking about Gravity Falls.
Just the two of us here in this Antarctic research facility, far away from any other civilization or people.
Well, there is that other facility that's really not too far off.
What, the Swedes?
No, they're Norwegians, Ella.
Oh. A puppy!
Oh, look at the puppy!
Little puppy! Oh.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeesh.
Oof. Big oof moment.
I didn't know the circus is in town, am I right?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
That was our dramatic interpretation of...
It was a little two-person show of, The Thing.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
John Carpenter... He is? Oh, no! We should burn him!
The Thing is...
A 1982 film directed by John Carpenter. Yes, we just watched it a week ago.
We did watch it a week ago.
But what did we do last night?
What did we do last night? Oh, man, what did we do last night?
I picture in I don't know, there was like a guy.
It's like an island and a bunch of switches that didn't work and...
That's right, we just played Myst, as you all knew, as you all gathered from the context.
That 1993 first-person exploration...
point-and-click adventure computer game.
Yeah.
Ella, I enjoyed Myst and The Thing so much, but I just wish there were some way for me to appreciate them at the same time.
I know what you mean.
Like, what if I was going around a random little underground thing trying to figure out where I was going or what anything was, and the only hints I got are some things that were written in a journal that seemed to kind of correlate to the location I'm in, but not quite?
Right, but at the same time, you were stalked by a creature that can change its shape to trick you.
Ooh.
That would be quite a combination of ideas there.
So Into the Bunker is the second episode of Gravity Falls Season 2.
Whoa!
And the 22nd episode overall.
Whoa!
It was directed by Joe Pitt. It was written by Alex Hirsch and Matt Chapman. The first television airing was on Disney XD on August 4th, 2014, making it the first episode with an initial Disney XD airing.
Right.
However, that was not how I first saw the episode.
Oh, do tell.
Well, I was over at my friend Tyler's house, and we had just watched Scarioki. And after it aired, we took to Tumblr. This wasn't our first Gravity Falls rodeo. We knew how it worked. You're supposed to go to Tumblr right after an episode airs.
Mm-hmm. As is law.
And almost all of the posts I was seeing from my friends that I was following in the Gravity Falls fandom and from the Gravity Falls tag said, "Dude, you're laying on my bra." And I was insulted because I wasn't, Ella.
Yeah.
I checked. I tried to be respectful, but
you were like,
I'm
sorry, what? What? There's nothing under here.
So there's no line in Scarioki.
The previous episode.
That says, "Dude, you're laying on my bra."
Yeah.
And we had to scour the internet to figure out why everyone was talking about brassieres.
Yeah.
And we found out that to promote the DisneyXD.go.com.
Sure.
Go being in a search engine that Disney purchased that flopped, and now they still own the...
Yeah, during the .com boom, I guess. Yeah.
So we entered Tyler's cable provider, and yeah, sure enough, about a week early, they released...
a few days, I guess, right?
Oh, 3 days, you're right.
But that's a long time in Gravity Falls fandom.
No,
time.
yeah. And I didn't want to, be behind if everyone knew mysteries that were only contained in this mysterious Into the Bunker episode.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
I wanted to know why people were saying and debating what an F is. Because I think I knew what F stood for, but I was pretty sure you couldn't say that word on Disney XD.
No. Yeah, I had, I think, a similar experience. I remember August, I guess, if it was technically August 2nd, I just remember around that same time was when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, the first one.
Yeah, I do, because I was at Tyler's house for 2 reasons: to watch the premiere of Karaoke and to go to the movie theater and see Guardians of the Galaxy. That is correct.
Yeah. So my mom and I went to see that, like, real late. I guess it was maybe a midnight showing, even on August 2nd, but I think we like to go to those because they're usually pretty empty when they're not huge movies. But we got back, and I think it was either similar to you. I saw people posting about it, or I saw, maybe it was on TV when I got back, like a re-airing, and I was like, oh no. I didn't know this was gonna...
Yeah, you had waited an entire year for an episode, and then there were 2 in 4 days.
Yeah, and then I was like, wow, what a good episode. Come on, let's go see Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the only episode that's gonna air tonight. And then I came back, and I ended up watching it on demand on the cable. I guess the same system that would put it online, put it on the on-demand section.
Gotcha. Now, I want to specify, it would be impossible for there to be a reference to that film in this episode.
Oh, yeah, just
so if you see anything, if you're watching along with us when we play the promo and you're like, was that a Guardians of the Galaxy reference?
It was not.
Almost certainly not.
It was not.
Unless James Gunn and Alex Hirsch were like sharing character designs around during production. Yeah. And they don't hang out much anymore.
Not since the incident.
Wait, yeah, the thing is...
A 1982 John Carpenter film?
Good joke. So, at one point, Alex and James Gunn did both get imprisoned in books and believed themselves to be wrongly imprisoned and blamed the other.
Yeah.
By the way, that was another reference to the Myst. We'll explain in a bit why we're talking about Myst and the Thing, I promise.
But for now, let's watch Into the Bunker.
Disney Channel's night of premieres is weird as
crazy wall things happening,
and is all new. It's Disney XD on Disney Channel. You gotta see this with your own eyes. All new Gravity Falls tonight, starting at 8 on Disney Channel.
So we just watched My Mummy's a Werewolf 2. This again.
We just watched Into the Bunker.
Woo! Good episode.
It's a really good episode. This is one of the ones that hits that Gravity Falls sweet spot, where if you had to, like, as a whole, explain the tone of Gravity Falls, you would most likely be not describing the tone of all 40 episodes on average, but the tone of this and Summerween and The Tooth.
Maybe Karaoke a little.
Karaoke.
But yeah, basically that balance of the supernatural and the awkward preteen experiences.
And Alex, fearing this episode would be too scary, kept going in and adding jokes at every stage of the process.
It worked. It's a funny episode. Seuss is in peak form here.
Oh, Seuss is so good.
It's a lot, though. It's a lot. But I guess the first thing is that Wendy joins the adventure in this episode. Wendy's joining the gang on the adventure for the first time.
I adore watching it. Wendy is the favorite character of Tyler, who I was watching this with, so he was so pleased that he got to see that. I love Linda Cardellini. She is just killing it here.
Oh my god, yeah. And again, like you said, the thing everyone was quoting because it is a great moment.
dude, you're laying on my bra.
Dipper is just horrified, like more horrified than he is in any other part in this episode.
They talk in the commentary, do you remember the first time you went over a girl's house and saw the other underwear?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't that weird for me personally, because
it wasn't when I realized that I had been living in a girl's bedroom the whole time.
Oh my God, you had a plot twist in your life.
Yeah,
like,
I had
legitimately.
a plot twist in my puberty. we pretty much resolve the Dipper Wendy crush arc in this episode. It's a really good, like, send off, a good cap to it, because I think something that the fandom had collectively agreed on and that the crew realized is that there were too many of these episodes in season 1, that it kind of...
their thought behind it was that, big emotions gives you good character motivations, because they never want Dipper to be going on an adventure because the plot dictates it, as they called it, protagonitis.
Yeah, and they get almost dangerously close to that, because at the end of Karaoke, he's like, oh, the black light reveals this, and now he's like, we're doing this because of the black light, but they have an emotional
as Dipper in Karaoke says that, they're halfway through the summer, he doesn't know anything yet, and he's going to start getting serious about solving these mysteries. This episode is written by Matt Chapman, who also wrote Boys Crazy, the episode where Wendy broke up with Robbie. So he has written, 4 or 5 episodes at this point, and 100% of the breakups depicted in the show's 22 episode run.
Yeah, either breakups or just redefining a relationship. Yeah.
So they started calling him the shipwrecker in the office because
good for him.
Matt distinctly recalls his first episode, Boys Crazy. He remembers seeing fans online say Alex would never have let Wendy and Robbie break up. This new guy, Matt Chapman, he's a complete rogue. He's just gone off the rails and done this without Alex's approval.
That whole thing is wild to me, because even when I was, a teenager watching this show, I never really cared about the love lives of these teenagers and preteens. It was never something that was important to me.
Yeah, it's something interesting so I was 19 when I got into this show. How old was I when this episode came out? I was 21 when this episode came out. I get a lot of questions like, who are your favorite Gravity Falls ships? And I have to be like, yeah, I'm almost 30.
I can't answer that due to the fact that I'm 40.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but, I mean, I do relate to the experience of having crushes on older women.
Oh, no, absolutely. But it's just, there's so much more to this show than that I don't really...
And, what the fans were saying is, if this is not going anywhere, nip it in the bud.
There are, an abundance of episodes in season 1 about, like, Dipper trying a new thing to impress Wendy, and that's, like, it becomes tedious when you know that it's probably not gonna culminate in anything, like, status quo-wise, and I think they do it really, really well here. Like, a really good, like, healthy, like, breaking down of, like, why he felt that way and, like, what they're gonna do moving forward. And my mother screamed at this episode.
Was that related?
Yes, it is related.
Okay. I was thinking maybe your mom was just screaming that day, and you were like, oh, yeah, same. That episode was a lot, huh?
Yeah.
She was like, what? Oh, right.
Because we had gotten back from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I put it on demand, and then I guess at some point she was watching it in a different room, because she had gone upstairs, and I guess at this point it was on TV, because we were watching it at exactly the same moments. But I remember when, we'll get into it in a moment, but when Dipper believes that Wendy is dead, when it is actually a shapeshifter that has taken Wendy's form, and he confesses over what he believes is her corpse, and then it is revealed that Wendy is actually just standing right behind him, the real Wendy. And I heard from upstairs my mom screaming when she realized that Dipper had just confessed in front of Wendy. I was like, yeah.
She's right behind me, isn't she?
Yeah. It's like one step behind saying that. But yeah, it's a big deal, because Dipper, throughout this episode, would rather die than confess his feelings. He would rather...
there is a moment where literally it is what he has to do for Mabel to let the door open and for him to be safe.
Yeah.
And he refuses to. I'll play the clip.
Mabel, let us out!
Oh, I'll let you out, Dipper. As soon as you tell Wendy that thing you've been wanting to tell her. Dipper, Just say whatever Mabel wants you to say so she'll let us out of here.
Wendy, I'm gonna find another way out!
Wait, what?
I have posted a Gru Despicable Me meme in light of the resolution of this emotional arc that I feel is very fitting.
Can I read it?
Yes.
Like girl, ask her out. She just wants to be friends. She just wants to be friends. You finally have a friend! That was my first ever time trying Gru. How'd it go?
Oh, good, yeah. We've joked before about how, like, you know, Dipper has no friends in Gravity Falls, really. It's kind of just Mabel.
I just want Dipper looking sad and it saying no friends, and then Dipper with, like, sunglasses on and, like, that one, the style, when he flips up his shades.
Yeah.
One friend.
Yeah, somebody make that. And, yeah, it's a big deal that, like, Wendy asserts her friendship with Dipper, even though she is... I never understood why friend zoning is seen as a bad thing, because I like having friends. Having friends is great.
It's all based on a incorrect idea of romance that doesn't really make sense, where you get your heart set on someone who you have not even, like, assessed the situation with yet, and you're like, this one or no one.
Yeah.
And when you're like, hey, this one please, and they're like, no, you're like, but why? This one.
Yeah.
And that's not actually how crushes work, and if that's something you're experiencing, that's not a crush.
Yeah, and I think a lot about what we talked about in our inconveniencing episode about how, like, maybe it really is just Dipper, like, not knowing how to interpret his feelings about, like, wanting to be emotionally close with a person or wanting to be more like a person.
Or wanting to be good at climbing trees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's what Wendy ultimately says is, like, I'm too old for you. You understand that, right? And that's, like, the very first hurdle that Dipper has to compartmentalize is, like, yeah, he basically that's the first, like, stage of denial that he has to enter is, like, no, this can happen with a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, and even in Double Dipper, it's like, Tyrone says, you think either of us even have a chance? I mean, she's 15 and we're 12, so there's this understanding that ultimately it is not going to work, but he keeps trying anyway, because at a certain point, he's just kind of in too deep in, like, how much time he's invested into this.
Yeah, it's an obsession.
But it doesn't feel like a waste. It feels like he in his trying to impress her, he has, like, accidentally forged a friendship, and this is where he realizes that.
And Dipper has a friend.
He has a friend!
And that's what Dipper's internet history is. What is friend? Things to do with friend.
Because at the top of the episode, he's worried I'll become another guy she hates, like Robbie, but that's not what happens. He believes that it is either we are in a romantic relationship or she despises me. He does not realize that there is a middle ground.
Yeah, and that was the experience I remember of when I was younger and nervous to admit when I had crushes on people, I was worried they would be so uncomfortable that they'd never talk to me again.
Right.
And that's happened maybe once, but it's super rare. It, really doesn't work that way, folks.
Yeah.
Just let them know, and if they're not cool with it, move on.
Exactly. Speaking of moving on from things that aren't working, do you want to talk about Myst?
Yeah, so last night we played the 1993 adventure game by Cyan called Myst. And the reason for that is that Myst is, well, heavily referenced in this episode, but overall an influence on the design and mystery of Gravity Falls. Alex Hirsch tweeted on April 23rd, 2015, "Hey Alex, where'd you get the idea for hidden journals, trees with switches, and lost authors?" Nowhere, hides Miss CD behind back.
So that pretty much proves what was already obvious.
But what's also worth mentioning is another place where you might have seen bunch of switches, a bunch of clues that someone wrote down, are obviously escape rooms. Myst spawned a genre, a subgenre of adventure games called Myst-likes, which in the heyday of Flash games and the Newgrounds portal became known as escape the room games. Real life escape rooms are based on Escape the Room games, also known as Myst likes. So Gravity Falls and Escape Rooms kind of, sort of, are two different adaptations of the same source material.
There's a lot of stuff that kind of traces back to Myst, because also the late great Stephen Sondheim was a huge fan of Myst, apparently.
He's never made he'll never get to make that Myst musical, so we have to do it in his absence.
And he was considering branching out into
He was
video
considering
games.
quitting musicals.
Yeah, that's the power of Myst.
His first musical was a flop, and it was a while before he had his second hit after West Side Story.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to go into the Myst.
Now, you see, you didn't like Myst, though.
I didn't, but I'm in the minority clearly.
You get it now.
I get
you
it.
understand the true meaning of Myst. You're some big town, some big city.
Hot shot, I don't got time to be stuck in this small, humble Myst town. I got California to get to.
You fly into a little remote island, and you're like, what, a bunch of switches? Okay, boring. But
then I spend some time with them, and I start to realize, hey, these switches are kind of my family.
We did, every time we passed a switch that we couldn't figure out how to work, we did puppeteer it talking.
Yeah, because you can drag it up and down with the mouse. So we were like, what do you do? I don't know.
In the first episode, Tourist Trapped, Dipper flips a switch that's near the tree, and it does nothing. So he tries a different switch, and that opens a compartment with a journal in it, which is so close to how Myst is actually played.
Even realizing that it's a metal tree and there's a panel inside it is very Myst.
And we return to that tree in this episode and find out
which I guess proves how little progress Dipper's made and how he's like, okay, square one, where I found the journal.
Yeah.
I should have done this before.
Here we find there is a lever that opens a doorway of a spiral staircase down, which is most Myst puzzles as well, actually.
Mm-hmm. I love background joke I'd never noticed before is when they're trying to figure out how to do anything with this tree that's made of metal. We see Seuss trying to drill it once, and then...
once, and then just stares thinking, which is how we play. Seuss plays Myst the same way Ella and I do.
We're like, that didn't work? Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know.
In the episode, there is a room full of symbols, and the only way to know which ones to press is because it is written in the journal.
Or they die.
There was a puzzle where we had to press a bunch of symbols that we had discovered, according to, we saw times in a book, and we had to input the times in the dentist chair so we could rotate an observatory to look at constellations.
And one time Alex Hirsch tweeted a video of what I guess was, maybe it was like a special edition of the game or something, because he had like a physical Myst book, and he opened it up and it had
there are Myst books. There are...
I thought maybe it's like is it the case for a special edition of the game?
It might be the book.
A book? Okay. Because it had a video screen where the
I don't know. Maybe
moving picture was.
I haven't seen that, but that's awesome that you found that. Yeah.
I thought I put it in the doc. Maybe I just sent it to you, and I'll find it and put it in the description of this episode, so people who know who Alex Hirsch is, but not what Myst is, can get a little more understanding.
As well as this episode pays heavy tribute to John Carpenter's The Thing. Because, the thing is...
a 1982 John Carpenter film.
Yeah, yes. It is the quintessential shapeshifter fiction. And
it's what Among Us is based on.
Yeah, if you have ever seen anything about shapeshifters or trying to figure out who is not really who they say they are, it's probably referencing The Thing.
Like, Among Us is so directly inspired that there's a level that takes place in an Antarctic research center. And
they just added a shapeshifter to Among Us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
So they're trying to figure out who the imposter is.
So Robert Ryan Corey, the season 2 character designer, he loves horror movies, as Rob Renzetti said last week.
Good time.
Robert Ryan Corey loves drawing monsters, and here he plays excellent tribute to Rob Bottin, who did the creature designs for The Thing. especially with the Dipper Mabel.
Yeah.
There's a Dipper Mabel that looks exactly like the KY jelly dripping.
Yeah, because the premise of this shapeshifter is that it's a little different from the rules of the Thing. And the Thing, the titular
thing... The rules
thing,
of the Thing are don't talk about the Thing.
Yeah, the titular thing has to kill you before it can assimilate you. It's like an infection. But in here, the shapeshifter can simply turn into anything that it sees. So when it sees both Dipper and Mabel, it decides to turn into a Dipper Mabel. It's pretty terrifying. I think all the creatures are in some way unsettling. I don't think there's not one of them where I'm like, oh, that's cute.
It is so terrifying that when they air this on the Disney Channel, they cut that part out somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but it makes perfect sense. I don't blame them at all.
He also briefly transforms into the Hide Behind and not Groot.
Exactly.
It says on the Gravity Falls wiki that he turned into Groot. I think it was that one Guardians of the Galaxy was on everyone's brains. It just came out. 2, a lot of people didn't watch all of the shorts.
Yeah, and you can't really see the Hide Behind that clearly in the shorts, I guess. And you get a little bit of, maybe even more than the film, because, again, the film has different rules of that, like, paranoia of any one of us could be the shapeshifter. And there's a line about how if the shapeshifter escapes into town, we could never trust anyone ever again, which is a big part of the stakes of the Thing, because they're at this isolated research center, but they need to, make sure that the Thing is actually dead before it escapes. Because
then they might live.
Yeah. They would live.
2 people got that joke.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Hi, Adam. Glad to see you here. Talk to you next week.
There's a nice balance of the terror of what you're looking at in front of you and the terror of the implications.
In the DVD bonus features, there is some footage of Alex going through the storage locker where he keeps all of his Gravity Falls notes. And he shows us pages of unproduced episode ideas. And one reads, Christmas special starts with Stan blanketing the town in snow trying to free Mammoth. So kind of came about in Land Before Swine.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then he writes, maybe this is where we do our The Thing parody, which means that a parody was born out of hypothetical want, not out of contextual convenience.
Maybe every episode Alex was like, is this where we work the Thing in? Boys Crazy? Is this where, can we get some Thing in here?
This one's feeling a little thingy.
Also, I love that after maybe this is where I do our The Thing parody, he writes, or maybe something more horrifying, and I think I get what he meant, but at first I thought he meant more horrifying than The Thing, and I was like, buddy, you're not gonna find it.
I actually didn't find it that scary.
I mean, it's not, again, like I was saying about this episode having scary visuals and also scary paranoid implications, I think the film, The Thing, at least for me, was more about the visuals.
So, The Thing is 90 minutes long. So I recommend it to everyone, because even if you hate it,
it'll be over soon.
It's very well paced as well. It doesn't even, it's a quick 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's got a lot of dog death though. Content warning for that.
And I would recommend Myst. Ella would not.
I mean, sure, it's pretty, but egad, is it dull?
Yeah. So, this is a clip of Monkey Island making fun of Myst, and, the gravelly voice represents Ella's perspective, and the voice that sounds like mine represents my opinion.
Oh, how I hate that blasted Myst.
Really? I like Myst. I think it's pretty.
Well, sure, Myst is pretty. But egad, is it dull.
Perfect. So, who voices this shapeshifter? Probably Alex or Matt, or, they probably just grabbed somebody, right?
So, this actually is my favorite story about this episode.
Oh, do tell.
Matt Chapman, as you could tell, wrote a lot of the shapeshifter's lines. You could hear it in...
I've been down here for a very long time. Years. Weeks, maybe. I miss orange juice.
So it's pretty obvious that almost all of his dialogue was written by Matt. So Matt was so excited when he found out that they had gotten Mark Hamill to agree to voice the character. He's like, oh my god, Luke Skywalker is going to read things that I wrote? Words that I wrote are going to be said by a Star Wars? and he watched the episode and was like, "Oh, it's just some guy. I guess he wasn't available. Oh well, okay, it's fine. This guy's doing a great job."
Yeah.
And then sees the credits and sees the name Mark Hamill and goes, "What?" Because he didn't realize that Mark Hamill is a voice actor who happens
And he happened
to have been in Star
Wars.
Wars.
Yeah.
He has. We talked about this last week with Rob Renzetti, although we cut it out because it wasn't relevant to that episode.
Oh, yeah.
So we could play that conversation now.
You know, there's a thing called offer only, which means they're not going to record any kind of audition for you. You're either casting them or you're not. And not all celebrities insist on that. Some will come in. Mark Hamill, who's obviously a huge star, but also a huge voice acting star. He comes in and auditions all the time and is perfectly happy to do it. I don't know about now, but he did it back in the day.
He has a voiceover credit before the first
He's
Star
used to the
Wars.
process, I'm sure.
This is the way I've seen it is voice acting is the career he pursued, and he accidentally became a celebrity in the process.
Yeah, he did. I mean, in those,
I did this little space movie in the 70s, and that kind of
well,
took off.
and there were a lot of fallow years after that for him as an actor, before the Star Wars thing kind of came around to him again.
Right.
But he was there doing voice acting and doing amazing legendary voices, as you guys know. Less legendary and more niche is he was the voice of my Dracula character, the Count, on the Mina and the Count shorts. And I brought him in because I loved Mark Hamill. I never thought he'd actually win the job, but because I hadn't had any experience of him as a voice actor at that point. But when he came in, I was like, oh my God, you're amazing.
The first voice role I was familiar with him as, because I'm a little young for Batman the Animated Series. I was born the year after it premiered. Was Sticky Beard on Codename Kid Next Door. Doesn't sound anything like any other voice I've heard from him.
No, he's super versatile guy.
Good times. And another thing I did not notice until this watch through, kind of freaked me out, is that in the credits of the episode, Mark Hamill is credited as the mysterious old man, the initial form that he takes, until, like, the last frame, just before it cuts to the next page of credits, where the name of the character becomes the Shapeshifter.
Oh, it shapeshifts.
It does, yeah, exactly.
Well, then, now that's a thing.
I wonder, like, it almost makes me wonder if there's other things that I missed, because obviously the previous episode...
things that you missed?
Yeah, that I missed. Because in the previous episode, we talked about how Nick Offerman is bizarrely credited as Key Visionaire. So, like, maybe there are other things with the actual credits that I didn't even think to look at, because you're focused on, like, the cryptograms.
If anyone has noticed any,
email us.
Send them in. MysteryShackLookback@gmail.com, or join our Discord server.
So how do you feel about that mysterious old man? Because when we first meet the Shapeshifter, we don't realize that he's the Shapeshifter. We are led to believe that we have found the author of the journals.
I love him. I mean, as I specified, he's
fantastic.
Largely written by by the person who inspired me to become a writer.
Yeah, and the voice that Mark does for this form is amazing.
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
Like, from the first line, well, just ripped out a monster's tongue. He's totally casual.
Yeah, you have written here, he's quirky enough that I bought it at first.
Yes,
yeah.
And I at least in my memory, I don't really remember what exactly I was thinking and feeling, but I think, at least for the initial reveal, in quotes, I was like, oh, this is a guy. Because he is, until a little later into the episode, he's written, in that very Gravity Falls-y way of, this is a weird thing a scary thing that I'm alluding to, but I'm saying it in a very conversational way.
A scary thing?
Uh-huh. You're gonna have to cut some of these out. You understand?
No, I don't. I don't have to. I'm the editor.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah. What was your experience of that? Them trying to fool us?
I think I felt for it. I don't think I mean, when they first do see the can of beans, the logo is silhouetted. I think they could have gotten away with showing it because it's only on screen for a frame.
Yeah, and it's in
not
the it's
center
not
focus.
A close-up. Yeah,
and I almost wish they did give us the tools to figure this out on our own.
Yeah,
but
that's a good point. Baron Yum Yums.
Baron Num.
High flying beans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember being so caught up in maybe that's the author, what's going on here, that, like, when Wendy is like, Dipper, look at the can of beans. He looks like the guy in the can of beans. I didn't put it together. I didn't put together what that meant. I was like,
ooh, he's
what?
a bean model.
Yeah, so what? He got a product tie-in. Everybody has to make ends meet sometimes, especially when you're building a giant bunker.
Got a government grant for his research in Gravity Falls, so he had to get a job doing product tie-ins.
Yeah, it's fine.
Today's journal page is brought to you by Baron Yum Yum's high-flying beans.
Like you say, it's probably Matt Chapman dialogue that makes the fake-out work, in a way, because he's funny. You believe that he's a character that they might keep around. There is a really sweet callback to The Inconveniencing where, and initially they're going down into the bunker, where Dipper, is like, listen, what happens in the bunker stays in the bunker. And they all they all kind of nod, and Wendy does the throwing away the key gesture from The Inconveniencing when she promises not to tell anyone that he did a silly little lammy dance. And then that's what they do in the inevitable I don't know which one to shoot bit.
And then he accidentally kills the real Wendy, and the rest of the show
he's not good at wielding an axe. It's his first time using an axe, so he accidentally...
Yeah, and the rest of the show deals with the ramifications of him inadvertently committing murder.
Yeah.
On his only friend.
Yeah, I think he watched a different episode.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm thinking of a different show, sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really nice because I think it elevates it past, like, the cliche of, shoot him, he's,
The real Wendy would never wink at me.
Yeah. Right, yeah, the shapeshifter tries to signal him, but does not know...
what their relationship is.
Their personal history. Yeah, exactly. And that, like, it's almost a perfect, like, allegory for, like, the emotional arc of, like, the shapeshifter is, like, doing this little kind of flirtatious wink, and it's like, that's the idealized romantic Wendy that Dipper thought that he wanted. And then the real Wendy is doing something that symbolizes trust, and mutual respect of a friendship, which is what he actually ends up with.
And Lemmy dances.
Yes. Protecting the secrets of silly little dances.
Isn't that part of our docent graduation?
It is, yeah. We gotta add that.
So the shapeshifter is called Experiment 210.
That's right.
In Carpet DM, the carpet is labeled Experiment 78.
Yeah. Interesting. Lots of little sprinkled in revelations in this episode.
Well, you want to list them?
Yeah, we know that the author, well, I suppose what we really know is that the author uses he, him pronouns.
Yep. The author engaged in experiments during his research. I'm just copy-pasting these from the wiki.
It's fine. We know that the author, there was a theory last week, that we have evidence that the author had 6 fingers because of the glove that Grunkle Stan put on had 6 fingers.
But now, sure enough, we hear the phrase 6-fingered freak.
6-fingered nerd.
6-fingered nerd. I was confusing it with monk.
Okay.
In Monk, okay, wait, I gotta tell you this real quick.
All right.
When someone describes the guy who killed Monk's wife, he calls him 6-fingered freak. People are like all over the internet. Did he say Frank?
Is there a character named Frank?
When they finally do introduce the murderer of Monk's wife in the final episode, his name is Frank because so many people misheard
That's so
that
funny.
line.
This isn't a no spoiler Monk podcast, by the way, so sorry about that.
I can spoil Monk all I want.
We can spoil Monk all we want.
As a matter of fact, you know what? It was a judge that had never been seen in any previous episode. That twist sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also, the laptop says property of F.
Right, there's this briefcase that Seuss finds, and then it reveals...
At the opening of the journal, it says property of, and then the whole name is ripped off. A similar thing was attempted on the laptop. However, the first letter remains. We got one, Ella.
We got one.
And it is F.
It looked like that's all there was room for. Maybe they just didn't... It looked like it was made by a label maker, so maybe they just didn't feel like writing out their full name.
Or maybe that is his full name.
Oh, it's just F. And then the last name is to pay respect.
The last name is Rank.
Was that a thing? Laptops that looked like that had like a handle on it? I guess it must have been.
I mean, I put it in the notes there. Do you see it?
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that's what I was looking at.
Yep, so,
Okay, great. I accidentally created a great segue.
the Commodore SX64 was the first full-color portable computer, and, it was a briefcase. How it works, it isn't like this where it unfolds like a modern MacBook.
And then becomes a laptop, with a full-size screen.
It was a keyboard that comes off of like the part right under the handle.
Yeah, and the screen is only like a portion of the computer.
Because you can't really run computers without, like they didn't have native software on them. You needed floppy disks. So it's the way this laptop works in the show doesn't really make sense with 1982, but it's fine.
So this episode is bookended by selections from the Gravity Falls Bargain Bin movie showcase.
Such a funny joke. This is the one. Usually I can tell when something is Alex and something is Matt. This feels like something both of them would write. Yeah,
well, and it makes sense what you said earlier about these feel like jokes that were added in to try to balance the horror.
So, do you remember all the movies, Ella?
Well, so the first one they watch is Nearly Almost Dead, but not quite. And then the montage at the end has The Whittlest Vampire, Ghost Turtle, Help, My Mummy's a Werewolf, The Man with No Taste, The Planet People from Planet Planet, Help, My Mummy's a Werewolf 2, This Again.
And the production credit of Nearly Almost Dead, but not quite, is listed as a good enough picture, MXMLMLMXML. And I love how the wiki writes this. It says, reading it using Roman numerals notation, M plus XM plus LM plus LM plus XM plus L, gives the year 1000 plus 990 plus 950 plus 950 plus 990 plus 50, which does not make sense. I love the blunt phrase, which does not make sense.
Yeah.
And also, who would write a year as a math equation? Alternatively, you could read it where, rather than it being M, it's MX is the first number, and each number is 2 digits, which means this was made in the year 2010, and 2050, and 2050, 1010, and 1050, and 1050, and 1010, and 1050, which does not make sense either, is what they write next.
The film can either be made in 4930 or 5170.
Or alternatively, because you don't write years as math equations, it was made in all of the years listed.
Yes.
Maybe this is a Myst puzzle, and we gotta go into the dentist chair and input those years we can figure out which constellations, based on our list of constellations from the book,
corresponds to which symbol to press.
Which will raise the model ship.
Which will raise the real ship. And then we could go into some other crappy place.
Age, Ella. Age.
Oh yeah, age. When the hell are we? I personally believe that whoever at Good Enough Entertainment, which is the same company that made Dream Boy High, I don't know what their brand is.
How long they've been around.
But I believe that it's...
Oh, you know who they are? You know who engaged in both B movies and the translation of Japanese films?
Roger Corman?
That, true. I was gonna say they're Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and it's good enough!
Yeah, there you go.
That's the Good Enough channel.
I think whoever wrote the year just wanted to say, Miximal. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it.
It also reminds me of, because it's December 15th, reminds me of how they messed up while writing the year in Roman numerals in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh no!
They only did as a joke, because that's how films wrote the year, like, in the 40s and 30s.
Yeah.
They thought it would be funny to do that in the 60s.
Yeah.
But they got the year wrong, which meant that by the time they copyrighted it, the copyright was already expired.
Oh,
so the film Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is technically public domain because the copyright is credited to a year more than 100 years before its air date.
Oh no!
Copyright's already expired, which is why you constantly see Rudolph imagery in other films and commercials and stuff.
Whoever wrote that year got fired.
Similarly, the copyrights have not begun on,
Nearly Almost Dead, but not quite.
No.
So what is that? I guess we've never really encountered that before. Is it in the public domain until the copyright begins?
I think it is in the public domain until the year Mixmal, Ella.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm a human. I'm a regular gasoline guzzling human being.
I have noticed that about you.
Do you wanna?
I'm trapped in a book personally, but I'm still a person. I was wrongly imprisoned, actually. My brother is guilty.
Oh, that's funny because your brother said the same thing.
Yeah, he sure would, wouldn't he?
So, how about all three of us take a trip down into the Hall of Conspiracies where no one else is around?
Two bookmen and a thing walk into a hall.
The thing says, "I'll have some gasoline."
Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Conspiracy.
The TV Tropes Wild Mass Guesses page for Gravity Falls states, the author of the journals is Manly Dan, Wendy's father. Also, we get, did we already?
Oh, we didn't talk about this. Yeah.
Explicit confirmation
the episode
that
where
Manly
she
Dan is
bluntly says my dad, and then it cuts to Manly Dan because
destroying his own house again.
They didn't realize they accidentally cut every episode where they mentioned being related.
Yeah. So this theory states, the author of the journals has 6 fingers. Other than McGucket...
That's referencing how a lot of people thought the author was McGucket because...
Yeah, and McGucket's cast.
Because of the cast, yeah. That goes between his index finger and his thumb.
Other than McGucket, only Manly Dan has his right hand concealed at all times because he always wears gloves. He could have lost that finger and be hiding the scar. Or have 2 fingers in one glove finger.
And no one's noticed. He's real subtle about it.
Well, he's got giant fingers.
It's like, hey, I couldn't help but notice that when you bend that finger, each side of it bends at a different time. Oh!
Lumberjack accident. The biggest clue is that it requires lumberjack skills to open the author's secret bunker. That's a good point. He isn't a nerd now, but his personality may have changed since he hasn't been himself for 30 years. The personality change could be the result of Manator training, and his terrified reaction to Chutzpar's approach, in Dipper vs. Manliness, might be due to a line he crossed, like, say, challenging Leaderar.
No, I'll do you one better.
Yeah?
Waddles is the author.
Okay.
Hasn't been himself for 30 years? You can't be yourself that much if you became a pig. Unless you're Seuss.
These are some dueling wild mass guesses here. That was also from TV Tropes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this one is from the Gravity Falls Conspiracies Tumblr, submitted by Cool May Crafat.
Yeah.
It's an image that... first we have the calendar from the room in Carpet Diem that has July 4th, 1982. Or July 4th is circled, but then they've also circled the year 1982.
So they don't forget what year it is.
No, I mean, the submitter has circled 1982.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. One is done in animation and one is done in MS Paint.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then they compare that to the Shapeshifter saying that six-fingered nerd hasn't been the same in 30 years. And they point out 1982 plus 30 being 2012, which is something that has been theorized as present day in Gravity Falls. So they are connecting the 1982 calendar to the 30 years. So there's something about 30 years, and it's not even the first time that it's been said, right? Because Grunkle Stan talked about 30 years in Karaoke.
Wow.
Something about those 80s, am I right?
Yeah, it's probably because that's the year The Thing came out.
Yeah, I think he was just really excited to watch The Thing.
Go and see The Thing in theaters. Yeah. There are so many cryptograms from this point out. Season 2, they only put one in an episode, or one or two in an episode in season 1, because they're like, well, how long is it going to...
Yeah, in season 1 it was a big deal when there was more than one cryptogram, and now it's like...
Alex and Ian took it as a challenge that people had solved the cryptogram so quickly, and started trying to push them. making us work for it.
Yeah, we're in the thick of the Visionaire cipher now.
So, the Visionaire key is found on a barrel in the bunker. The keyword is shifter. So we still don't understand how Visionaire works at all.
If someone can explain it to us in a way that we can read on the podcast, please email us.
MysteryShackLookback@gmail.com or on Twitter @MysteryShackPod or join the Discord.
Explain like we're 5.
Like, we are 5.
We are 5.
Out of 10!
What?
Out of 10?
Oh. Put us together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you apply that to the credits cryptogram, the keyword shifter, you get what kind of disaster indeed.
Next to the author's hiding spot page, there's a binary code that says, when you translate it through binary, which I suppose Charlie can't do.
No, I'm strictly non-binary.
Yeah. It says, put all 6 pieces together, and this references the end cards from Dipper's Guide to the Unexplained. I guess they thought that it was a particularly tough thing to do, so they were trying to throw you a bone in season 2, even though they didn't realize that they'd already be solved by this point.
That was October.
Yeah.
This
Monstober.
was... What?
Monstober.
That was... Sorry, Monsto... I forget the name of the month constantly.
Yeah.
That was Monstober. This was August.
Of the following year.
Of the following year. It's fine, guys. We got it.
Yeah.
In the cryogenic tube section of Journal 3, there's a cipher that says, "Am I me? Is he me?" On the following pages, it says, "Ice, ice, baby."
Yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense for someone who hasn't been himself in 30 years?
What, referencing Vanilla Ice?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice hasn't been himself for 30 years either.
I also really love the line of when the fake-out author Shapeshifter is leading them around, telling them about the Shapeshifter. He says, "It broke through a cage of solid steel," and it's just the Shapeshifter flexing about himself.
And then it blew kisses to all the ladies nearby.
Yeah.
One of them swooned.
And then he stole my girlfriend. He's quite a Casanova, that Shapeshifter.
Why, I heard the Shapeshifter won the Tour de France with 3 flat tires and a missing chain.
I hear the Shapeshifter has an 8-pack. I hear he's shredded. The end card at the very end of the episode has a cryptogram that reads, "Improper use of machinery could lead to utter catastrophe."
If you want to find more episodes of Myst or Shack Look Back, well, that can be found on a little thing called pipedreampodcasts.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Vault Disney, which is not to be confused with The Bunker.
Yeah.
How Did This Not Get Made? And Come On Fahookwapods.
And you can find a link to our show's social medias, our Discord server, and our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Mystery Shack.
Pledging at the $3 tier will get you a shout out at the end of episodes. $5 will get you into viewing parties for the episodes. Tonight in our Discord, we'll be watching Into the Bunker.
And $40 gets you voice commission from me or an art commission from you, Ella, not you, the listener.
Me.
You can get art from yourself for free, listener. I believe in you.
You can draw. Contact us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com if you have old theories about the author that you want to share or any other fandom experiences.
Wait, F?
What?
It's Frank!
Oh, it is Frank from Monk.
It's Frank from Monk!
Well, mystery solved, we can go home.
Thanks to Brian for making the instrumental for our theme song and for voicing Stan in the Hall of Conspiracies intro. The Hall of Conspiracies intro is Lentil Dentist, a remix of our first episode by Sim and the Dimple V2-0. Listen to the full thing at the link in the description. And Adam, thanks for wiping all the KY jelly off of our practical puppets.
Yes, it was really helpful when you were using the defibrillator on me, and then it crashed right through my guts, and the guts became a mouth.
And then they bit you, and
Yeah.
they ate you in the defibrillator.
But in the process, you wiped off all the spit, which was really nice of you.
Yes.
I wrote a parody themed about John Carpenter's The Thing of the song That Thing You Do, written by the late, great Adam Schlesinger from the film of the same name. Here it is. You, being the thing you do, shatter a skull into a million pieces, as you're known to do, but you don't mean to be cruel, although you made me shoot and burn the husky that you morphed into. If we try, we might just survive this night, but I just can't tell who's who, and for all we know, could be that thing is you. I am learning how you play, and I'm gonna find a way to test our tissue and see which one's okay. I hate the way you assimilate, so if you don't vacate, I'll burn the compound and put you in checkmate. You're a nasty face from outer space, and we want you to vamoose, but I really can't tell who you turned into. I don't ask a lot, things, but I know this much for sure. It's your blood I haven't got, thing, and I just can't let you out this door. 'Cause we are professionals, you see, so if you won't leave me be, I'll burn the compound and take you down with me. But I've got one friend who is still not dead, and I trust him through and through. Buddy, I know you're not that thing. Everyone else was that thing, but it's safe to just assume that thing's not you. Oh, hey, Magazine Seuss.
Oh, hey, Jesus.
Do you want to give some patron shout-outs with me?
Oh, I love listing things.
All right. Thank you, too. Friendly Local Geek,
Fun, boringness,
Hugh Salinas,
David Gansel,
Ryan Faber,
and Stephen Patrick Mulholland. We are going to use that money to procure snacks.
Send us some more snack procuring money over at patreon.com/mysteryshack.